Hello, my name's Melita. I'm the conveyancer at TBA Law. Today, this is one of our monthly Facebook Live information sessions, and given that it's Valentine's Day, we thought we would discuss buying your first home and some of the things that you need to be aware of. Okay, let's start with you're looking at your first home. And what I would suggest is perhaps asking the agent for a copy of the vendor statement. It's a good idea to perhaps give that to your conveyancer so that they can look over it and advise you of anything that you need to be aware of with the property before you make that final decision to put in an offer, or it may be bidding at an auction. So yeah, we'll look over that Section 32 or vendor statement as they're known, and give you information regarding that for you to make an informed decision as to whether or not it's a property for you. Okay, so once you've decided, yep, that's the house I want to buy, you will get a contract, you'll make an offer, and if it's accepted, the details of the contract will be completed, and then you need to provide that to your conveyancer. The agent, you may request that the agent forward that directly to us, or you can forward it to us. Either way, as long as we get it, we're happy. So you need to things to consider. So if you're getting finance, you're going to need to make that contract subject to finance. You need to have that for at least 14 days, although banks these days are incredibly slow, so sometimes you may need longer than that, and that's fine as long as you keep in touch with your conveyancer to let them know. We can always put in an extension for a request, and the vendors usually approve that request, and that will give your bank more time to approve your finance. You do not want to be locked into a contract and your finance falls over. Then it's a nightmare to get out of. Sorry, forgot to turn off my ringtone on my phone. That's off now. Okay, so some other things to consider with the contract. Do you need to make it subject to building and pest inspections? Particularly an older property, it would be recommended. You'd need to make sure that there's no termite infestations, no structural problems with the property. And again, if your contract is subject to that, there will be a special condition put into that contract, and that will cover you to end the contract in the event that there is significant structural issues with the property. Okay, so you also need to ensure that any chattels that you expect to receive with the property are listed in the contract. So things like carpet, curtains, light fittings, they're all standard chattels. But sometimes there may be other things that have been agreed on with the agent or vendor, and you need to make sure that they are put in writing. I always tell my clients, I don't care how trivial you think it is, put it in the contract because it can save a lot of headaches down the track. You would hate to expect to receive some large pot plants or some shelving, and then you get to the property before settlement or after settlement and it's been removed. Usually in that case, the vendors will say, no, I said it wasn't included. And then the purchasers said, well, the agent told me it was. So always get everything put into the contract. It's concrete and it avoids a lot of drama down the track. Okay, so your conveyancer will look over the contract and check everything. They will also have a lot of questions for you. So you will need to start to consider things like joint proprietors or tenants in common. What are these? This is how you're going to own the property. So if you're not a sole purchaser, if you're buying with somebody else, you need to decide whether or not you're going to purchase the home as joint proprietors, which is usually how husband and wife buy, or partners buy. And what it means is that you own the property jointly. If something was to happen to one of you, the property would automatically pass to the surviving proprietor. Tenants in common, again, sometimes for tax reasons, partners may decide to do it this way, but quite often if two friends are buying a property together, they may do tenants in common. So you would own a percentage of that property. It could be 50-50, so equally, or it could be 60%, 40%. It's up to your discretion, but what that means is that if something was to happen to either one of you, that portion of the property would go as per their will. So the other party would still own their share, and then the other person's portion would go to whomever. You've also got some concessions or entitlements that you may be entitled to, and they are things like principal place of residence. So if you're buying a home and it will be your main residence, you will be living there within 12 months of settlement, you will be entitled to a concession on your stamp duty. It's usually roughly around $3,000, thereabouts, give or take. But when we're talking stamp duty, it can be huge and that can make a big difference. So even for clients where you buy land and you're building, if you are going to be building and living in that property within 12 months of settlement, excuse me, we will we will apply for the principal place of residence concession for you. So you've also got some other concessions which you may or may not be eligible for. You've got your first homeowner's grant. So this is for metropolitan homes. It's $10,000, and that's available on your first buy or build, provided the value is under $750,000. It can be a home, so a house, townhouse, apartment or unit, valued under $750,000, and it must be the first sale of that home. It cannot be an investment property or a holiday house, and the home must be under 5 years old. Again, if you're building, you are eligible to this. If you're building a home or buying a home in rural Victoria, under $750,000, for contracts dated between the 1st of July 2017 and 30th of June 2020, the first homeowner's grant is $20,000. Again, your conveyancer will ask you these questions. Your broker or financial institution will also find out, because they will apply for this exemption or this grant for you. You also have the first homeowner's grant concession exemption. So that can be a really good one if you're entitled to it, because it means that you will pay no stamp duty, which is a win-win. There's also the pensioner concession or exemption. Again, if you hold a valid pension card, you will be entitled to a concession or exemption on your stamp duty. Your conveyancer will ask you these questions, and they'll ask you for a copy of your pension card if you hold one and you're eligible. So basically, they are some of the main points with conveyancing. If there's any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask me. I'm happy to answer anything that I can. It seems pretty quiet out there. Where is everybody? No? Okay. So what I'll also discuss is perhaps selling a home. So again, you decide to sell your home, you'll come and see your conveyancer and ask them to prepare a Section 32 document. Again, your conveyancer will go over a whole lot of questions about the property. Has there been any structural work in the last 7 years? Permits issued by council? Are services connected? Is there a mortgage? There'll be a whole lot of questions that we'll ask you, and then we can start preparing that document for you. I always tell my clients, if you can provide me with the current rates notice and water notice and any other certificates that may be relevant to the property, I can always get that prepared a lot quicker. If I need to apply for those certificates, it takes a little bit longer, because we need to apply for those certificates and wait for authorities to get them back to us. We'll then prepare the Section 32 for you, and we do a blank contract. We'll forward them to you for your approval, and if you're happy, you can sign the Section 32 and forward that to your agent if you have an agent. And then it's just a matter of fingers crossed and hope that the property sells. Once the property sells, we will then receive a signed contract and handle everything on your behalf. We try and forward all the relevant paperwork to you at the start of the transaction, so it's all done, prepared, and there's no last minute running around. We'll liaise with your bank if there's a mortgage to ensure that the mortgage is removed at settlement. So we will, throughout both the sale and purchase transactions, we keep in contact with you and we advise you all the way through. You can contact your conveyancer anytime you like to ask them any questions or any concerns that you may have. Basically, we're there to help and to make the whole transaction smooth and painless as possible. So over the last 12 to 18 months, there's been some huge changes with conveyancing. So one of them is, excuse me, one of them is State Revenue Office. So State Revenue Office used to have a mountain of different forms for every sort of scenario, concession, whatever it may be, that we'd have to complete. These days, they're all combined into one online form. Your conveyancer completes that form for you and then emails that form, which you then need to log on or follow the link in the email and then sign it online, which is basically typing your name. And then there's no returning it to the conveyancer because we can log on and see that you've signed it and handle the rest from there. So that's made life a little bit easier and different. One of the other changes is online settlements. So these days, gone are the days of us all the different parties attending a venue to exchange checks and documents. Settlement happens via an online system, which is called PEXA. It's an online platform, and all parties get invited to that settlement workspace, and then all the paperwork and money exchanges online automatically at the scheduled time and date. This is good for vendors and purchasers because it happens all simultaneously. Money goes directly into the accounts, generally the same day. It's up to the banking or lending institution, but most of my clients have had money come into their account within a few hours of settlement. Otherwise, it's usually the next morning. So that's been great. It's much more convenient, and it eliminates any errors. So everything's it's ensured that everything's accurate prior to settlement. So that's been great. What else are we going to discuss? Let me just have a look. Okay. That's right, the verification of identity. As conveyancing's moved online, clients are now required to do what's called a verification of identity check. It is, we will forward you a form at the start of the transaction. You need to attend a post office with your ID, generally a license, driver's license and a passport, and complete it at the post office. Basically, the post office will take a photo of you, like a passport photo, and then it all gets logged into the system where we can access it and ensure that you have that. And that is basically confirming that you are who you say you are. A lot of the time these days with conveyancing, you don't necessarily meet your clients. It's all done via email and phone calls and whatnot. So this is just a way for the Land Titles Office to make sure that us as conveyancers or solicitors have confirmed your identity. Have we got any questions? We've only got one person viewing at the moment, so it's a bit quiet out there. No? So it's really important to have a good rapport with your conveyancer and feel comfortable with them to be able to discuss anything that's concerning you. We like to help, and like I said before, we like to make it as easy as possible, so that there's no, less stress as we can for you. Buying your first home can be very exciting, but it can be very stressful and very daunting because you're not aware of the processes, and that's what we're for, so that we take that stress away from you. Okay, I'm just about out of things to say, and it's very quiet. Thought we may have had a few people really interested today. It's very popular on Facebook when we posted it. Maybe everyone's too busy enjoying Valentine's Day. Maybe. No, haven't got any questions or anything. So, look, in any event, if people view this later and you've got some questions that you'd like answered, please get in touch with me or our office and we'd be happy to assist you and answer any of your questions that you may have. Okay, I think I'm going to go now. Have a great day. Enjoy Valentine's Day with your loved ones. Hope you're getting some flowers. I'm not. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.